Salute, salute, salute. Bow. So, man, a lot of y'all motherfuckers that got these screws that's loose, man, I had to tighten y'all up, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got to give me my props. Pun intended. Look, I know people talking about what's going on in the Twitter world. I don't have Twitter. I don't really follow tweets. So that's kind of like white noise to me. It's like sideline or noise from the bleachers. I'm not going to, I'm neutral. I'm neutral on that. I have no opinions on it. You know what I'm saying? So wax on, wax off. I'm sticking to the topic, what I'm talking about. Shawn Porter theory, part 2. Boxing Nocturnal Thoughts. Now, what I was talking about, first of all, let me go back to Kell Brook versus Terrance Crawford. You know, because I put it like this. Take out Kell Brook. If this was Errol Spence before he fought Danny Garcia, and his trainer, Derrick James, would have been saying, I'm not going to support you on this fight. I'm not going to train you for this fight. I don't think you're ready. If Al Heyman would have been like, we're not going to deal with you. We're not going to do business with you, Errol Spence, because we're not comfortable. We're not confident in your abilities coming off this accident. If they would have said that, and I would have seen Errol Spence get in shape the best he could by himself and go fight Danny Garcia and lose against Danny Garcia, I'm going to say Danny Garcia beat a broken version of Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't give Derrick James his credit, man. He, to me, is very honest and straightforward. And he say when Errol Spence was getting ready for Danny Garcia, he was saying he looked good. You know, he's holding up, he's getting back in shape, he's healthy. You know what I'm saying? He's dealing with what he had to deal with from the car accident. But what I'm seeing a fighter that's going to be able to go in there and handle his business against Danny Garcia. And that's exactly what the man did. So I look at Kell Brook versus Terrance Crawford. When Kell Brook didn't even have his trainer have his back, didn't have his promotional company, his management team have his back, and he had a trainer he never really worked with before. Going into that fight, like I say, when Terrance Crawford beat him, I try to give as much credit to Terrance Crawford as possible, but I still got to look at Kell Brook and say it is what it is, or it was what it was. Okay? Now we're talking about Shawn Porter, really, because Shawn Porter says he's not the measuring stick. And he should have been. See, that's what pisses me off. Because even though the triangle theory doesn't work, and even though you can't really look at common opponents, when you're looking at the biggest fight of this generation, Terrance Crawford versus Errol Spence, you want to still have the common opponent that can really reveal a lot of unknowns that we just ain't going to know. No matter what, we're not going to know until these two brothers rumble. And we're going to find out soon, hopefully. But my point is, and what irritates me with the Shawn Porter is he should have been a proper measuring stick. We all got to have tools to do our job. And even on YouTube, we got to have tools to do our job. And when we look at fights and we do breakdowns and assessments and we use common opponents and theories, you know what I'm saying? It'd be great to have a measuring stick that was actually accurate down to the fucking measurements. And Shawn Porter, it's really not nothing to do with styles make fights. And Errol Spence don't fight like Shawn Porter, and Terrance Crawford don't fight like Shawn Porter. And when they fight each other, they're not gonna fight each other the same way they fought Shawn Porter. It's not about that. It's about the fact that Shawn Porter versus Terrance Crawford should have been the perfect opportunity to have a more accurate measuring stick to see what Terrance Crawford actually would be able to do hypothetically against Errol Spence. And he did not provide that information because he wasn't 100%. He wasn't accurate. If he was a level, he would have been unlevel. If he was a ruler, he would have been, measurements would have been wrong. If he was a monkey wrench, then this shit right here wouldn't be adjusted. It would have been broke. Shawn Porter fought Terrance Bud Crawford and didn't serve his damn purpose, because what Shawn Porter is a measuring stick. He's a truth tester. He takes his pound of flesh. He's going to tell you, he's going to reveal the truth of you. And he didn't reveal the truth of Terrance Bud Crawford. And that's why it's irritating to see Shawn Porter now, when you see Kenny Porter say, man, I knew I was going to throw in the towel in training. He doubled down on that. He stood 10 toes down on that and said, I knew I was going to throw in the towel. When you see the way the towel was thrown in, with Shawn Porter beating down on the mat and standing up and doing all this, and he doing all this, and the towel is thrown in, that was not the same thing as a towel being, people say he's seen enough, he's trying to protect his son. Man, I salute that. But that's not the same thing as when we seen Diego Corrales' father throw in the towel against, I don't know, I think that was his father. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But it's not the same when we seen Diego Corrales get the towel thrown in on him against Mayweather. It wasn't the same thing when we seen Lamont Peterson get the towel thrown in on him against Errol Spence. It wasn't the same thing when we seen the fight get waved off for Arturo Gatti versus Mayweather. It wasn't the same thing when we seen Yordenis Ugas fight get waved off against Errol Spence. It wasn't the same thing when we seen Tyson Fury have Mark Breland throw in the towel for Deontay Wilder in the second fight. Shawn Porter with Kenny Porter throwing in the towel, it was not the same thing. And people can say, well, we know what would have happened, but that's speculation. And I say, yeah, I kind of got the gist of what would happen, but that's not the point. The point is Shawn Porter was supposed to be an accurate measuring stick, because that's really at the root of Shawn Porter. He said he never wanted to be a gatekeeper, but at the genesis, at the root of Shawn Porter and his style and his abilities and what he brings to the table, that's really what Shawn Porter is. He's like the Derek Chisora of the heavyweights. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, he's a two-time champion. And when he fought Terrance Bud Crawford, he admits that he did not train with the same intensity. Physically, he might have trained 100%. He said he had some chiropractors standing on his arms to work out muscle knots, and he was running up in the mountains and doing all this type of shit. Physically, he might have been 100% tip-top shape, because Shawn Porter is athletic and he's going to be in tip-top shape. But was his heart in that fight? It was, but not like his heart wasn't in that fight. His heart was in that fight as far as, I got love for my friend. But his heart wasn't in that fight as is, I'm going to live or die, or I'm going to, you know what I'm saying, kill or be killed. His heart wasn't in it like that. Was he really spiritually invested into that fight? No. It was a power struggle, and Kenny Porter said, on this boxing thing, I'm still going to put myself and assert myself as the boss. And what it was Shawn Porter said, okay, well, I'm done with the boxing thing. And his heart is in the Porter Way podcast. That's where his heart is at. And all power to him, all respect to him, all salute to him, no disrespect to him. But it does create an issue, because what he did to me was not a service. Even it's like what he did Terrance Bud Crawford a disservice, in my opinion. Just like Kell Brook fighting Terrance Bud Crawford, he did him a disservice, because iron is supposed to sharpen iron. And when you come in there and you not iron, you just cloth and you polish and shine them up and make them look good, then you have a guy that start to get caught up in the smoke and the mirrors of his own hype. And I ain't saying that's the case with Terrance Bud Crawford. I'm not gonna lie when it comes to Terrance Bud Crawford. I want him to be 100% for this fight and let the best man win. I have no problem if he was to win against Errol Spence. I have no problem I will eat all the crow I have to eat, and I will come get that man all his flowers and respect and salutes I always have on this platform. But you can take it however you want to take it. When he say, I'm gonna take it for the right, I'm gonna try to take it optimistically. When he says, on the outside, I pretend to be happy. On the inside, I'm an angry person. I'm gonna take that as an optimistic thing to say, you know, we all have inner demon or inner dog, or we all have dark sides, nocturnal thoughts. We all have a side of us that's, you know what I'm saying, different, that we kind of have to sometimes camouflage or put on a mask or somewhat edit, because if we didn't, we go around busting everybody's head wide open all day, every day. People just be getting their teeth knocked down their throat who come in our path. So we got to kind of embrace another side of us. So I'm not going to trip off on that. When he say, I just want people to, you know, when he said, I just want to be great. When he said that, I just want to be great, I'm going to take that as him saying he feel like he's not getting the credit he deserves, and he just wants to achieve greatness. Now, you can take it how you want to, but that's how I'm going to take it. But I ain't going to lie, there's other way you can take some of that shit. He be saying, like, y'all going to miss me while I'm gone. But I'm going to take that as to say he's thinking in his mind he's going to come, fight Errol Spence, beat Errol Spence, retire. He might be 100% confident in himself, having Jermell Charlo on the hit list and fighting Jermell Charlo and being undisputed at 154 and blah, 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 and then retiring on top. That might be very well exactly what he's saying. So I'm going to give him that. I'm going to let him have that. I'm going to look at it that way. But when people start taking it the other way, where he's saying, oh, I'm angry on the inside, and they're talking about his mental and his confidence, and people can take shit however they want to take shit. I ain't tripping off that. I'm just putting it out there that I am somewhat concerned of some of his tweets. They are a little bit puzzling, maybe cryptic, but it's tweets. I don't put a lot of investment into tweets. So anyway, let me conclude this video by saying this. I think we're closer to this fight. It's been a very interesting ride and a very interesting journey. I met a lot of people because of this fight. So just in that alone, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna stop talking about it. This is my last, it's not my last video, but leading up, when it get closer to the fight and the fight get announced and we can really start talking about it, cool. But every little situation that happens, unless it to me has some significance, I'm not going to just keep making videos about, you know, nothing when it comes to this. I'm finna pivot. I'm finna switch over. I want to talk about Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk. That's a very interesting fight to me. That'll probably be my next video. You know what I'm saying? But Shawn Porter, he was disappointing to me with Terrance Crawford, because I really, really, really wanted him to be on top of his game and past that level of 100% and A level. I wanted him to be in a whole other different zone to fight Terrance Crawford. Like I say, I give Crawford credit for neutralizing Shawn Porter and not allowing him to even get in that zone. But when Shawn Porter admits that he wrestled after the fight, whether or not he gave his best self, and when Kenny Porter says he knew he was going to throw in the towel because he didn't train, and Shawn Porter, you know, say they had 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and then this conversation, whenever you really hear Shawn Porter talk about the conversation, you can tell he still finesses the conversation to where you can read in between the lines. You don't got to be a genius or a rocket scientist to figure out what Shawn Porter is saying. You know, he's not going to ever just come out and say, look, man, yeah, he's going to, you know, Shawn Porter the conversation. But we know, those that know, they know. Shawn Porter, what he did was, in my opinion, to a certain extent, disappointing because he should have been a measuring stick, and he wasn't, and he's not. And that's cool, because now we really just have to wait and see when those two guys fight how it's going to break down. But I ain't going to tell y'all nothing else.